Spooky music, minor keys, dissonance, chromaticism, and all of that sort of thing. Okay, so today is Halloween type time in the UK and massive in America. I know it's celebrated across the world. And today I'm going to be talking about lots of different techniques to make your music sound spooky with a particular theme based on In All of the Mountain King, which is the famous piece of music by Edvard Grieg, and also it's featured as the Alton Towers theme tune if you are a member of the UK, and you may have heard of that, but I do know that it's used across the world as a spooky piece of music. So with a spooky winky dinky do, let's get going. So as you look up there, you can see the score that I've made it very simple for like a beginner level. Now this lesson is based on introductory and beginner level, and then halfway through or so I'll be doing something more advanced for you who want to get a bit more teeth into it, a bit more grit into the actual complexity. Okay, so part one for all the beginners and people who really want to get the teeth into the basic side of things, this one's for you. Let's take a look at the chord shapes. It's based off a D minor and then an E chord, E major. So listen to straight away the clash there. We've got it's like quite Solomon kind of scary sound and straight into an E. Okay, and chromaticism is going down to the E flat and then back down to a D minor chord. So straight away in that kind of sound you're going to get. That sort of idea. So I'd like to play about with the chords and make your own melodies up because it's so good to improvise. Okay. Now another technique you can use with your playing of this style of music is staccato. Okay, a very short note like. Okay, and it's very difficult to play soft staccato versus loud staccato. Okay, so soft staccato is the emotional, the power, the creepy sound like. Have a listen. That sort of sound, okay? So it does help if you've got a nice, soft, gentle touch. So to get a soft, gentle touch, you actually need to be very, very controlled of your fingers, okay? And to make sure that you play with the wrist action going up like that. And just practice something like that, or take it on the chords. Now, when you go to that E flat sound, you could raise the dynamics to more than F or an FF, you know, fortissimo. Nice and quiet. And raise it up there. And dynamic contrast between the minor of the soft and bring it up to major and more. So another way to emphasize the scariness and the feeling of that sound was to take your pitches lower and higher. So we could separate this. We'll take it lower down here. So take the lower octave and take the right hand up as well. So you could do this. Listen to the difference. I'll play it first time. Okay, now listen to this. So much more dramatic, so much more feeling because of the depth of the track. If you put more dynamics into it as well. So again, you could get more emotion, get more dynamics going off there. Space is so important. Okay, so really work with it, okay? So the theme is based on these chords. The second bar is really quite nice because it uses a little bit of dissonance, and we're going to learn the augmentative chord. So I'll see you in augmentative mini mini mo. So the way to get back into the key is often by the seventh, or what we call a dominant seventh. Okay. You could even use the augmentative chord. Put a little trill in it. That's a trill. So even the use of tempo change, you know, vibrato, kind of slow up and speed up again like that. So the A chord basically is A, C sharp, and E. Okay, and we've got on the left hand we've got staccato, and it goes A, E, A, E. Okay, then A, F, and then back to A again. Notice the chromatic kind of sound. And then the right hand is basically just chords at the moment up here. Okay, so the higher octave, so a bit of space. A7. So again, work on that sort of thing. Now you could change the rhythm up. You could do I also like octaves in the bass line. So octaves are really useful for getting more grounded sound, more presence. So again, use your octaves. When it comes to arpeggios and things like that, you can one octave arpeggio, D, F, A, and D again. And you could do that in your left hand. Okay, you could do. And then just jazz it up. Well, not jazz it up, but work with it. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is use the information from the music, but create your own version. And that's so much more rewarding than just a play. Okay, right. But if you like that, guess what's coming up in a rinky dinky do? So, on the screen you can now see the actual score for the first part of In Hall of the Mountain King. So let me draw attention to the last two bars. We've got a D minor going up here, so it goes. Okay, and then we're kind of going to an F major position, just here, look. Put the thumb onto F. Okay, but we're going to still play a D minor chord, but first inversion. And then it resolves into the F major chord here. Look, C, A, F, okay? And that goes from the D minor into F major. Okay? I'll break it down and slow it down for you. So the melody is as follows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on D, E, F, G, A. And put your thumb then on F and go F, A on second, okay? 5 on D, then come down on your fourth in the F chord position. Again. Okay, so let's try that a few times and then we'll carry on. The bass line is very simple, but I'm not playing it here. It's not written here, it's played and written the octave below to get that presence and that depth and the sound of the scariness about it. Try and keep it staccato. And quite quiet as well. Really gentle. That kind of sound. Okay. That takes me on to the melody of the first two bars. Okay. And what we're going to be doing now is playing off the D minor scale again. And I'm going to repeat the F and we go back to the A. Okay. Now this is very interesting. We're actually using chromatics. Okay. Playing the G sharp and the E. And the same rhythm, but playing G and E flat. Like this. 2, 3, 4. That's one version, okay? There's so much more you can do with this. So now we're going to run into the A chord and just dip over that with a melody. I'll see you in a melody in Kiduko. So let's just take a bit further closer look at this. Come here, a bit closer. Oh, not that close. It's a bit scary. Okay, so this is based on the A chord. A, B, C sharp, D, E. Back to C sharp, back to E again. Okay, that's your first bar. Then we've got a little pattern. Okay. So there's your A augmentative chord. Okay. Alright, okay. And then we'll do the same thing, but have a listen with the bass line. So rise and fall the dynamics to give some tension and release kind of sound. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, here we go. And a 1, 2, 3, 4. Pull and push the tempo, raise and take your dynamics up and down. It really adds to the whole atmosphere of making it a little bit more scary. Can you imagine playing it just like this? Boring. Okay, so it's not just playing the notes, it's how you can actually perform it. Little details. Okay, so if you're a beginner to intermediate level, that's probably where you can work with. Okay, now part two, the advanced versions. Okay, here is part 2, and this is for the people who want to go a bit more further, a bit more in depth, and those who maybe been playing for a few years and get more meted to the piece. Okay, so let's dive in to the meaty section of this little video. I'll see you in a minute. So let's look at a more advanced way of playing the first part. Okay, I'm going to make it into a rhythmic section. I'm going to play very big octaves on the right and left hand. Big octaves, well, it's 8 notes, isn't it? But you know what I mean. So left hand octaves, right hand octaves, D minor. Okay. Try this one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Gradually get louder. Get that tension. And then let's do the same thing but in E. And then E flat. And back down to D minor, etc. That's nice. How about now doing octaves with the left hand, like we said, but we'll play quavers instead. How about this? Notice the dynamics, building up. Quiet. That's another way to get your dynamics involved with the piece. So then what you could do is raise your octaves in the right hand and get some real depth going off. So okay, if you want something really challenging, let's take a look at doing something and this way. Okay, left hand octave and then the remaining part of the chord. You can either do it like which is tremendously quite difficult. Okay, that's a great way to do it. And okay, that sort of idea, and do it softly. Try this one. All we're doing there, as you know, is you can play D and play the F and the A, so 3 and 5, and then play the E, the 3 and 5, the E flat, the 3 and 5. Okay? And in between that, the 5th. So going D, F and A, F and A, E, G sharp and B, E flat, and E. I can't do it quick enough, but. Okay, improvise your right hand. Okay, so something such as I'm going to make something up on the spot. Okay. Okay, so you can do a lot with it. Let's take a look at the second section. This is the augmentative. So see you in a secco. So using the same principle, just doing the D minor. Okay, so let's take it into the augmentative. How would you start a piece of music off? Well, I would go something like this. I would go B flat 7, for example. And then go down chromatically again. Don't forget my chromatics into the A7. Okay. And then maybe put the dissonance to the augmentative. Like that. So. So that's a little technique you can do. Anyway, let's just stay in the augmentative area. So what about quivering or some kind of like little flutter kind of sound? That's really nice. On that, we've got some like triplet sound. Okay, so anything like that to start it off, and we're going to go into this little section here. Okay, so basically use the same ideas. So we've got some octaves. So that's something to practice. On the right hand, you could do some melody, something like. That sort of thing. What about this? Okay, there are loads of things you can do, and I just love the idea of like playing about with these chords. A second in there, we could do some. What about this for this introduction? Okay, so based on the A7. That's nice. So fly for the chords, or I call glissandos. have loads of fun, and I wish you all well, and I'll see you probably in a short while or in about 5 minutes when you watch the next video. Until then, enjoy your spooky music and your dissonance and your minors and chromaticism. Take care, everyone.
Ha 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 ha!